Otakon 2022, the good, the bad, and the line con. Oh, it's like 2013, 2014 all over again. Thought we were done with that. Oticon 2022, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Oticon was an anime convention held from July 29th through 31st, 2022 at the Walter E. Washington Convention Center in Washington, D.C. Oticon had a very interesting year this year. Let's get right into it. For the good, what worked? The COVID policy was highly effective. Most people wore their masks. You had to have either a test or a vax card, and it worked really well, and most of the attendees seemed to be very, very cooperative. When you first looked at the panel schedule, it was actually surprisingly interesting. A lot of well-wrote panel descriptions with interesting titles that made picking where to go a challenge. This was in theory, however. We're going to talk more about this later, though the lineup did look better at first than 2021. The attached Marriott to the convention center again was good this year. Easy check-in, staff were great. Yes, parking was expensive, but that's what you get for being so close. For the first time in a few years, we submitted a panel to Otakon, and we were waitlisted and later offered a time slot we really just couldn't accept due to the lateness of it. I will say working with panel staff was easy and their communication was excellent. Hopefully we'll be able to submit a panel and get it in next year. As usual, the hero of Otakon industry panels is Discotech. Discotech ran a great panel, multiple licensing announcements, got a new primetime slot at 9 p.m. on Saturday, and it was a great panel. For the bad, what was absolutely terrible was there were not enough vaccination wristband stations. Where they put them caused the line to jam up. They had a handful. They need about 10, but not near the line. They need to put them in places you could go separately to get them. This just didn't work this year, and I'm hoping if we're still in need of wristbands to prove vaccination, that they figure out a better system for next year. Entrance security this year was absolutely terrible unless you were there at off hours, because literally to get the amount of people into the convention center they needed to, they had to basically stop using the metal detectors at many times. Now, they'll say maybe they didn't stop using them, but they basically did, and the bag checks were ineffective. And realistically, to get the amount of people in, they will need more entrances in the future, which we will discuss more shortly. There was a major traffic jam in the Marriott on Friday. How this happened was, aside from the issues we discussed earlier, basically, they changed the location of where the station was. It was previously located almost in the convention center. This year, it was relocated to the M2 level, causing the line to snake all the way up into the Marriott lobby. It just didn't work. And based upon other things that are going to be occurring probably in the next year around space usage, they're going to have to figure out where to put these metal detector stations, and they're going to need more of them somewhere in the Marriott, and I'm not quite sure where they're going to be able to put them. On Saturday of Otakon, the convention had a complete operational failure in terms of security and line control. Two pictures I have here. One is the Marriott lobby, one is the dealer's room line. Basically, traffic flow completely failed. Now, they eventually got it moving later into the afternoon, but this is only going to lead into questions of, will they need more entrances? Yes. Are they going to need more metal detectors? Yes. The dealer's room jam was actually caused by a communication problem that literally you just had to keep walking to the very far end of that hallway, and there was an entrance to the dealer's room that no one was using. The ladies down there were confused by people weren't coming down. People were going into the closer entrance that was jamming the hallways up. It made no sense. It felt like Otakon almost needed rapid response teams to be able to empower perhaps workers and gophers to keep the flow of traffic moving, and they did not have that. And basically, line control completely failed on Saturday, and they will have to fix it. For the ugly, what should have been better? I wish they would have made the guest announcements earlier. I would have liked to do more research about who the guests were at the convention, because honestly, they announced them so late, it kind of made it difficult to find out who was attending. I like K-pop. Let me say that to start with. I thought the K-pop lineup was weak, and here's my problem. I can't tell you who Rolling Quartz and Pixie are. I don't know why exactly they were at the convention. I do like it looks like Otakon is going to be doing more with K-pop, which is great. The one thing I will say, what I did like, I think Otakon got Alexa at the right time. Her Q&A, bubbly, full of energy, that was great. But even as a K-pop fan, I don't understand the lineup that was here. The late guidebook also did not help things. Yes, there was a web schedule, but really it should have been in the guidebook a lot sooner. I wish the convention would have spent a little bit more money that instead of paper wristbands, they got plastic. The plastic would have been much more durable. The paper ones were kind of gross, and they were gross looking by the end of the convention. And just honestly, I don't think were that effective. While those panels had great descriptions, they were not great panels for the most part. And I want to show you something I saw a lot of during the weekend. If you walk into a panel and you see the panelist has YouTube directly embedded into it, as in YouTube links, that they're playing from the internet, that panelist has not properly built their panel or thought the panel through and is an immediate red flag. Anyone who has paneled smaller conventions or even medium-sized ones knows you need to download clips, cut them, and embed them in some form in the panel itself. You cannot play clips directly from the internet in a panel. What if you don't have internet? What if the internet cuts out? Then suddenly you have a panel without videos, and if you have a lot of videos, you're in trouble. I thought Saturday's content was not as strong as Friday's. I actually believe that there were various panels that could have been transferred from Friday and Sunday into Saturday that would have very much helped to strengthen the schedule and perhaps even it out a little bit and offer some higher quality. This year's dance setup was an absolute hot mess, and it wasn't terrible, but they moved from the convention center to the Marriott, and I can tell you how they set up the lines for the bag check was a mess because it made it look like you couldn't get into the dance. And when you went into the dance, the air conditioning was nowhere near as powerful as it needed to be. I walked in, got hit by a blast of hot air, felt my mask melt off my face, and I turned around and immediately left. And finally, I do not understand why they had to open the 2023 hotel block the day after the convention ended. There were still people in transit getting home. I also think people need a little bit of a break and some time to plan. Not a good move, Otakon. Overall, Oticon was still a good year despite the crowding. I had a good time. Oticon's a real easy con to have a lot of fun at. But the convention and venue are going to have to make some hard decisions. They are going to need more entrances, more metal detectors, probably more staff, probably pay for more staff from the convention center. There's going to have to be a lot of hard decisions made that maybe had been avoided for a few years that can't be avoided anymore. The convention will almost certainly need an attendance cap. We know from closing ceremonies Otakon had more than 40,000 people. What that attendance cap would be, is it 40, is it 35? I do not know. There is still additional space to use in other hotels and the Marriott. Could that change how things work out? Possibly. But I think an attendance cap will be needed in some form. I'm giving the convention a B. It was a good time as always, and we'll just have to see what changes they're going to make next year to improve the convention. Thanks for watching.